Are you one of those people that find your suspension lacking on your 300L, 300 Rally, or maybe you just want better suspension for a dirt bike or motorcycle overall? Well, in this video, I want to tell you about Cogent Dynamics, and I want to tell you why my experience with them, I feel they might be the best option for aftermarket suspension. But before that, let's look at some side-by-side comparisons. Keep in mind, I'm 240 pounds, and I have all my gear on in both of these videos. So let's take a look. Now you'll notice with the Rally, which actually has more weight than the 300L, but with the aftermarket spring, I'm able to handle off-road situations like whoops at a much higher speed. I also notice a pretty significant difference when it comes to ditch climbs. The drop into the ditch and then the push out seems a lot more fluent versus the stock to a suspension that's actually dialed in for my weight and my gear. So overall, a huge improvement, and it's one of the final pieces to fix this dual sport to make it a true adventure ADV bike to fit my personal needs. Alright, Cogent Dynamics is a small business located in North Carolina, which I love, because not only do I work for a small business and I'm very small business friendly, I also really appreciate the one-on-one you get with a smaller business that actually cares about their customers. It's something lost on these big chains or bigger companies. A lot of times you're just a number and people don't care. And in fact, I know that Cogent Dynamics cares because I talked to them on the phone for over an hour, and also I had a separate conversation about dialing in my suspension perfect for my riding needs, which I think bar none, that is great. On a side note, something else I did that I think is pretty cool is I took a digital x-ray of the Cogent Dynamics spring, and soon I'm going to take an x-ray of the 300L spring that I pulled off my motorcycle, and I want to compare them side by side with my field in industrial radiography and inspection. I want to see, the differences. So if you're interested in something like that, be sure to subscribe because that video will be coming out in the near future. And as I said, I talked to Cogent Dynamics on the phone. I talked to Rick, which is the president of the company, and we just talked about riding experiences, good times we had, everything all the way down to life and family. And this was really great and made me have the feel that this is a company that is genuine and really cares. Now shortly after, to place my order, I had a phone conversation with the salesperson, and I believe his name was Todd, if I remember right. Now here's where the good stuff comes in. Why this is so much better than a normal suspension, in my opinion. So when you buy a suspension, say it's from this company or that, a lot of times it's just the shock that's laying there, and you're buying it dialed specifically for your weight, and you get the suspension and you just deal with what you have, right? Well, in Cogent Dynamics, I completely got a custom order. For example, they asked me like somewhere around 20 questions. Like, what's my weight? What's my weight with gear? How often do I ride with my bags? How often do I ride with a pillion? What is this bike's primary use? Will I be putting an oversized gas tank? Etc., etc. They went through detail to completely design the suspension for my needs and what I actually need, which I think is so much better than anywhere else you can go. Then let's talk about price. So a lot of times when you get these shocks, they're very expensive. The unit I got was $759, and I feel it's a really premium unit, and the build quality compared to the stock suspension is pretty remarkable if you look at them side by side. Now let's talk about how it changed the motorcycle. So I don't know a ton about the dynamics of suspension, but I can tell you that putting this shock on of course made a huge difference, but also it seemed to make the front better. And if you guys know, the 300L is sprung really lightly. It's sprung for most people that are just going to drive on the road. It's going to absorb the bumps and give you overall good gravel road and road quality. And if you're like 180 pounds or less, you may never need to adjust the suspension. I mean, believe me, I've rode my 300L off-road and all types of terrain for one solid year at least with the stock suspension. Now I am able to bottom out the front spring if I get air, I hit a ditch too sharp, and you will feel it. Now the next option of course is I can buy a $100 spring that's sprung for my weight and put in the front. I think it'll clear up any issue like that. But the big thing is this is a night and day difference, and I've actually talked to other people online who have used Cogent Dynamics and they all had similar experiences. So as a reviewer overall, I think anytime I get custom suspension for the rest of my life, I'll probably use these guys. They seem to be a perfect fit for what I need. Now, to be fair to them, these videos you see where I'm using this suspension, I didn't really dial it in as far as clickers because simply I'm outside of my riding season at this point and it's horrendously muddy. I can show you some of this stuff. It's pretty bad. So I haven't completely seen the benefit of the adjustments on the suspension to dial it into exactly what I like. Now, as being a reviewer, I'd be remiss not to tell you about the positives and the negatives, and I can say the only negative to going this route would be you're not going to get the shock instantly. I mean, of course, they have to put it together, something like minor adjustments for your weight and etc. They have to do custom work to your suspension. Now, if you bought something off the rack somewhere, they're simply just putting it in a box and getting it to your house, so that's a lot different. But what I can say is I think overall this is probably the best way to go, especially if you feel like keeping this motorcycle for an extended period of time. It'd be nice to have something dialed in for your exact riding conditions and weight and what you plan to do, like carry bags, etc. And also, as I said, these guys are local to me, they're a US company, and I think it's probably like less than a 10-hour drive if I was to visit them myself. So as a small YouTuber, of course, I want to support small local business, and these guys get an A+ from me. Now, like say you want to use Cogent Dynamics and you want to have a similar experience to me, I feel the best way to get a hold of them is to call the number that is on their website and talk to sales directly. Now, as I said, these guys are not just for my particular motorcycle, they make suspension for, it seems to be any bike. If you just go to their front page, you can see multiple different setups here for multiple different motorcycles, and you can also see other people's reviews. I kind of had an internal struggle about this video. I'm saying, hey, should I wait till riding season to put more miles on the suspension? But I've taken it out multiple times, and I just want to tell you guys about it as the new 2023 model range of the 300L is coming out, and a lot of people are going to be picking up these bikes, and they might be looking for a suspension solution. So I wanted to bring this up front so that you guys know there is an easy fix and that you can dial this bike in perfect to really fix one of the problems that a lot of people complain about, which is the suspension. I mean, overall, this motorcycle has a smaller MSRP than many of the other offerings on the market, and yet it has the light suspension, so if you were to adjust and get a better suspension, maybe pretty much takes advantages away from these other bikes that are on the market that have a much larger price tag. Like the DRZ, for example, which I feel is a little bit top heavy, whereas the 300L feels so much more balanced and has a better price tag. So I hope that makes sense. And even if you want to talk to them to get advice, possibly upgrading, overall I think it's worth the experience and worth the call. So stay safe out there, guys. My name is Andrew, and this is Motorcycles Off-Road. Thanks for watching, guys.